Hey, welcome to Xpnsion Sunday, right? It's lovely to be here. We hope everybody's having a great day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're wanting to say, let's give a shout out. We've been getting a little bit of some mail from some dear friends that we have down in the Bay Islands, and everybody wanting to figure out why in the world we haven't had time to come down and visit everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Down there.
Ron and Janina.
And
Summer Dawn. And Mitch. And all kinds of people down there.
The people in the Port Royal. God, love Port Royal.
Yeah, Norm and Maggie.
Yeah. The Key there, the island.
Yeah.
And our friends in Mexico, Martin and everyone there.
His family, yeah.
In Costco, Metepec.
Mm-hmm.
We've been very busy, folks. We have a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And before I start crying because we haven't been able to get down there.
I know, we do miss you terribly. We love you guys.
Yeah,
love you guys.
Had to do that this morning, so those of you that are out there, thank you for being tolerant, for allowing us that time.
Yeah. Can't wait to get there. We're going to get there. We're going
to get back down there. So we promise we will be back down there.
Yeah, and thanks everybody in those areas for watching this program and keeping track of some of the stuff that we're doing. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate the sharing for all of you joining us on Xpnsion Sundays. We love for you to share our programming and to listen in and chirp in and hopefully just continue to spread wonderful energy, right? Wonderful energies out there. We're wishing everybody the best in their lives. Letting go of your fears, letting go of your limitations, and allowing the full expression of yourself and finding the extraordinary joy in that, the tolerance in that, the compassion in that, and the friendships in all of that, right? It's the best part, right? Speaking of friendships, we want to talk on Xpnsion Sunday today about how when you're changing the energy in your life, how everything in your life changes. We talk about this often, but we, our own selves, continue to have things pop up, that really demonstrate how all of the shifts of energy in your life should be intentional, should be mindful, should be focused. And we as human beings let a lot of stuff slip. We slip. We've got the banana peel underneath us. We're slipping all the time on slippery slopes of things, right?
That's one of the dilemmas with the quote, the conscious journey. You decide that you want to make changes in your life. I'm not talking about changes around your property or changes around your house. We're talking about changes in your life.
Yeah.
Okay? And the ironic part to all of that is you want to make a change in your life. The consequence of making changes means everything changes.
Well, I love to use the term benefits of everything changing, though it may seem like anything new for us and anything intentional for us, there on the onset, that the natural perception would be that it's challenging or difficult.
Sorry. You're reflecting the lights.
And
you're
then
glowing.
Yeah. And then as we deepen our perception of all of that, we see all of the opportunities to initiate change in all of these areas. It's really an interesting process. We see new ways of solving problems. We see new ways of looking at problems. And we realize that everything in our lives is touched by our perception, and which is our conscious journey, right? And really no area is excluded. No area is excluded.
Well, I think, when we first were talking about this early this morning, I immediately thought, well, this is why people don't want to go on the conscious journey.
Yeah.
They don't want to have everything change in their life, man. They know something's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're not happy with where they're at.
Yeah.
They know that they need to do something differently, but man, they just don't want, they're comfortable where they're at.
You don't realize how settled in you've become in the way you think and how you've created everything in your life. It's so on autopilot, and it's such a comfort zone, or just something that you're used to. And when you decide to make those changes, everything becomes applicable. Everything becomes applicable. And a lot of people think, I just don't have the energy for that. And we say, you do have the energy for that. You are that energy for that. When you set on a journey to expand yourself, you're going to change your life. Everything in your life. And you can't stop that. You can't stop that. What you can do is intentionally create the change, because it's going to change. For some people, when they decide to make changes in their life, expansiveness, they run into a lot of turmoil, a lot of resistance to that change. Okay? Your altered ego has created the limitations and the scarcities in your life. And it touches every part of your life. You usually aren't aware of this. You usually can be aware of certain areas in your life where you're having problems or limitations, but you never have limitations or problems in only one area of your life. It's a common energy thread. It's a common energy thread. It's going to hit every component of your life. Every interaction that you have, every creative thought, intention that you have, it has an energy thread, common energy thread through it. You just generally only recognize certain ones that seem to capture your attention. So many people will say, well, I have problems with money in my life, or I have problems with health in my life, or I have problems in my relationship in my life. And we'll say, yes, well, those are the ones that you're really noticing, okay? But it's a common thread through everything in your life, okay? From the delivery person to your employees, to being able to find a job, to whether you catch a fish that day, to how your shoes fit you, to whether you found something or whether you lost something, okay? To the arguments, ongoing arguments with the people in your neighborhood that aren't being resolved. And you just aren't paying attention to the fact that your energy contributes to that. We always point out everything that's wrong in our lives, or who is wrong in our lives, but we don't realize that if there's any form of interaction with these people, and there's a scarcity or a lack, your energy is contributing to that just as much as theirs is. And nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to admit that, okay? Now, when we shift our energy in our life by becoming mindful of the way we are, it's going to cause somewhat of a tidal wave. It's going to disrupt the altered ego's position in your life. And the altered ego doesn't submit easily. It doesn't, okay? It likes being in control, right? And so you start to become mindful in a couple of areas. I want to change this in my life, and I want to change this in my life, and I want to change this in my life. You're going to start to raise your energy frequency, and it's going to start to disrupt the foundation of every component in your life. And basically what we're saying is the shit's going to hit the fan in a lot of areas, a lot of disruption. And the first thing the altered ego is going to do is make you afraid that those things are changing, right?
Yeah, and it's the fact that you're becoming afraid, or you're afraid something's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
or you're sensing that something's going to happen from fear. Here's the ironic part. How many times do you sense that something good's going to happen?
Well, hopefully, at least occasionally, but most people.
But on the average.
Yeah, but most people sense more that something's bad's going to happen.
There's
right?
always the bad.
Right.
It's always going to be something bad. Always going to be something bad.
Right. And then the altered ego will also really play mind games with you of disempowerment. Okay? Well, you think that becoming empowered is going to help you. I'm going to show you that it's not. I'm going to show you all the problems I'm going to stir up for you. I'm going to show you even more awareness of that you're not worth this, and you're not worth that, and you don't have the power for this, and you don't have the power for that.
Well, what a lot of people don't understand, though, is you have an altered ego.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does.
Human beings do, yes.
All humans come equipped with the altered ego.
Mm-hmm. And it's become so inflated in your life. This is commonly talked about in religion as the devil, okay, taking over. We support that's your own altered ego mindset, okay? And that's good news because you have control over that. You may have forgotten
Mm-hmm.
that you have control over that, but you have control over that. This alleviates the position of victimhood, except that you've been victim to your own altered ego, right?
Right.
But way better than being victim to some mysterious evil force out there that really has a dominant role in your life and leaves you in a position of disempowerment, right? Where everything comes back to your power when you realize that it's your perception that's creating your life.
Yeah, if you seriously sit down and think about everything that goes on in your life. Now, I understand everyone else wants to explain to you that there is something else that controls everything outside of you because they don't understand how powerful they are.
Right.
But if you're watching programming like ours, then let's just get down to the black and white of it, okay? When you sit down and analyze what exactly is going on in your life, at some point you will come to the realization that everything that goes on in your life is a decision that you have made one way or another.
Yeah, that's true.
It's always based upon your decision.
Yeah.
You can't let somebody else do something to you that you don't agree to.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
You don't want to hear that.
Well, maybe you do. Maybe you finally do. Because again, this is the release and the relief that you're really looking for. And the changes that are going to occur. Changes are so frightening for people because they think they don't have control over the way things are going to change.
Right.
And your energy is massive in the contribution of the energy or of the direction the change goes. Okay?
Right. Well, the flip side, or the not flip side, but another aspect of that whole conversation is human beings have a tendency to think that things only need to change a certain way.
Right. Right.
Okay? But what is a change for somebody else isn't a change for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change the way somebody else has changed. That's their change.
Right.
That's not your change.
Yeah, that's good news. That's
you
really
have
good
to
news.
change according to the way you feel and the way you think
Yeah.
about things, which means you're the one who's always in control of everything that's going on in
Yeah.
your life.
We see this in our healing workshops that we run all the time. We have extraordinary people that come to our healing workshops, and they generally come because there's certain things in their life that they want to change. Okay, some of them have one real particular thing, okay, that they're working on, and through the process of the workshop, they have this incredible discovery process take place of how their perception, works. And when we get done with the workshop, the amount of information and the broader perspective that they've brought to themselves, and how this interfaces change that will unfold for them over the next few months or even the next year or two in their life. And a lot of those conversations always come back to, I didn't realize that this was also going on. I didn't realize that that was also going on. And I didn't realize it was going on until I saw the change in that issue in my life. And I was like, wait a minute, wow, I didn't even realize this was a problem. Thankfully, it changed in a positive direction. Okay, and so this supports this ongoing conversation of how energy changes, but it also supports that every single day, with every email that comes in, every customer service issue that comes in, every client issue interaction that takes place, every location that you go to, from going to the supermarket to the movies to whatever you're doing, is going to be an experience reflective of your state of consciousness for you. Okay? And you can set an intention on the direction it's going to go, or you can be asleep in the whole situation and allow it to be all about how the other person wants it to go. Right?
Well, we've long talked about how human beings, and we've even talked about it at bits and pieces during this little brief discussion, how human beings allow other people to dictate what's going on in their life.
It is such the pattern of a human. Yeah.
That somebody else has to dictate, and that you allow somebody else to dictate what's going on in your life because, you might offend somebody, or somebody might get their feelings hurt. I'm sorry, folks, that's a crock of crap, okay? If somebody's feelings are getting hurt because you're wanting to do something and they don't, tell them to get a life. It's that simple. They need to grow up. You don't. Go do what makes you think you feel happy doing. It's that simple. Otherwise, it's going to bug you for the rest of your life. And that person is going to continue to just control you and continue to make you miserable the rest of your life.
The controlling people in your lives, the people who really feel that they need to control everybody else, okay? They have to control situations, are generally the most unhappy people. They're so out of control with things in their life that they have to try to make up for that by controlling everybody else.
They're going to latch on to something else that they can control because their life is nothing but a menagerie of disarray.
Yeah. And they get so angry. The most frustrating thing for a controlling person is to encounter someone they can't control. And they'll lash out, and they'll try to even make their lives even more miserable and try to convince them that their life is miserable because they won't succumb to their control, okay? It is the most interesting process to watch, right?
Now, you look at organizations that exist in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when you don't conform
They'll punish you.
to what that organization,
They'll punish
no
you.
matter who it is,
Yeah.
and I don't need to go into organizational names or
Yeah.
different organizations around the world. I'm just going to use the word organization as a classroom principle.
Well,
Okay.
they'll punish you. Commonly, punishment is all about isolation, because they know that the most challenging thing for a human is to be discarded and isolated. So they'll create chaos and anarchy against that person.
Yep.
Okay? And the threat ultimately is because you won't succumb to my rules and the way I think it should play itself out. Ultimately, I'm going to get everybody else against you. I'm going to create isolation in your life, because I know that's one of the most painful things. And eventually, I'll get you to come back and let me govern you, because I have the power of inclusion, okay, in either the community or the organization, okay?
Now think about that for just a minute, because see, I see that from a totally different perspective.
Right.
See, I want you guys to go away.
Right.
I want you guys to leave me alone.
Right, but not necessarily, because
Okay.
you need community support, you need organization support generally in certain areas of your life. So, how do you navigate these waters? What's so funny is, of course, we encourage that this takes a community to start to wake up. All
Either
right?
that or you build your own community.
Right. You start to change the people, your resources, your output. And what's interesting is the most happy people, the happiest people, are the ones that allow. They allow everybody their quirkiness. They allow everybody their choices. Everybody is allowed to have a different perspective without each other telling each other they're wrong with their perspective. Okay? We recently were on
A panel.
Thank you. A panel at a huge expo. And each one of us on the panel had a vastly different opinion as to what quantum consciousness was.
About the subject matter.
Yeah. And one of the great things was that it wasn't about the panel arguing over who was right about that subject matter. It was about everybody patiently allowing everyone's opinion to come out and touch different people in the audience, and just trust that whatever energy frequency resonates is going to allow that resonance to take place. And people in the energy of allowing, people will grow, people will expand, not control. It's not about who on the panel is right, okay, so they can govern everybody in the room. It's about showing that broad consciousness allows different opinions. Now, this gets very terrifying for a person who needs to be in control, because this throws everything back in their court, that it's their misery that is being projected out in the controlling aspect.
And can't you see it? Can't you see it in their faces?
Yeah.
Can't you see it, how uncomfortable some people?
And they're the perfect person to even come to this program, so they can learn to nurture their own selves and create their experience out of love and allowing. Perhaps change their experience that's so miserable to them. They're being controlled by somebody else. They're being manipulated by somebody else. And they're the perfect person. The most angry people and controlling people are really the ones that are crying out for the change in their own life. Their souls will start to say, stop letting this altered ego create this limitation in your life, and let's get your superpowers out and your magnificence out and your love out. If you are this strong in controlling and manipulation and anger, let's show you how really powerful you could be with love and shifting every article in your life, right?
I was going to say, so let's take a few minutes and let's talk about how to bolster those who are getting sick and tired, or as Julius would always say, you've had your guts full of it. What are some words of advice that we could give to our listeners?
Yeah. The first thing is to really stop and look at yourself and say, how long have these issues been going on in my life, that means I've been approaching these issues more than likely from the same position, and it's not changing. It's not working. It just perpetuates the same misery going on. How long has this problem been going on in my life? How many limitations, how long? So this isn't working, okay? So change could shift everything, and I'm the one that needs to change. I'm the one that needs to shift my limited, angry, controlling, manipulative perspective, because I am so afraid of not being in control. So I am going to change myself. No matter what's going on in your life, and you say, how long has this been going on? This is more than likely a pattern throughout my whole life, okay? And the common denominator is me.
But don't you also find, though, that when you make that decision, or not decision, when you make that declaration,
Mm-hmm.
that if somebody else is involved in that declaration, that boy, they start taking,
they'll start pushing.
They start looking at, wow, maybe something's going on here, and I better start waking up just a little bit.
Yeah, but so you say the common denominator is me. That means that if I massively change my perception, either I'm going to completely change the situation, or I will at least get a 50% movement change on the situation, which is massive because I haven't had any change up until now. Okay? And if I am shifting into love and allowance, that means that everything in my life is going to shift up at least 50%. At least 50%. I'm going to feel 50% relief. Hopefully 100% relief eventually, right? Where all of this time, I don't get any relief. I get the same. I get the same anger. I get the same issues. I've got the same health problems. I've got the same relationship problems, right? Right? So it really is being ready for accountability, and we don't want that to be frightening for people, okay? We want that to be empowering, okay? Accountability means empowerment. It doesn't mean punishment, okay? Well, you need to be accountable for your actions and take this punishment, okay? What a great downward spin on the subject matter of empowerment, right? Nobody wants you to be empowered. They don't want you, okay? Right? It sounds terrible, doesn't it? Isn't accountability always associated with punishment in some way?
I was just going to say, isn't that ironic that they throw out the word, you need to become more empowered, but then there's always punishment that goes along with that, and you have to satisfy a requirement of some point in order to be empowered.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. The altered ego will never stop doing an experience, because the altered ego's control in an experience won't allow full expansion from the experience, won't allow fulfillment from the experience. So you get a constant regurgitation of issues when it's your altered ego that is governing them. Once your soul steps into a situation or an opportunity or an experience, it can quickly move through the wisdom and the accelerated rate of the expansion from the experience, therefore providing fulfillment and satisfaction for the experience, and you can move to your next experience. So pay attention to what we said here, okay? Limitation driving or being the controlling factor in any experience will cause the experience to never get resolved. It will constantly regurgitate. You have things going on in your life that don't ever seem to get resolved. That's because your altered ego is controlling you and the situation. Once you allow the soul to step into the position of creating this experience new from love, you will quickly move through it and expand through it. This is really interesting, okay? So every time when you're even looking at your own life and there's an issue that you say, I just can't seem to get resolved, then you'll go, oh, it's all about karma and it's about this. We're like, no, you're using your altered ego through that experience every time. Shift into the soul's perspective, which is love, and you'll get through it and be done with it and get on to the next thing. So you even have your own answer. If I can't get resolved, I'm doing this from my altered ego all the time, or predominantly. I've got to shift out of that. I've got to shift out of, oh, this never works. Oh, it always turns out the same way. Oh, this is a real problem for me. Oh, this is something I can't seem to get past. Aren't these words that come out? Okay? And you're like, altered ego driving, okay? When you say, I am expanding through this experience, I am resolving this experience, I am knowing and obtaining great wisdom and fulfillment and joy, and I'm done with this experience. Soul is in the governing position.
Is in the driver's seat.
Right. Now, again, we're going to support that the altered ego will throw a lot of panic and knee-jerk reactive things at you when it starts to feel like it's losing its position. It will panic, okay? And this is an interesting experience because it can seem like a lot of turmoil will start to show up in your life, and it's your altered ego's attempt to throw you back out of position and let it come back into the driver's seat, because it may appear to you that this is too many problems in my life. I'd rather go back to at least having the smaller problems in my life. So you need to be aware of that. It's the fortitude that pushes through that.
Yeah, but that brings up a whole nother group of questions, okay? Because you can't really ever go back, can you?
That's an illusion, yes.
You can't really ever go back.
Right.
No matter whether you think you're going back to what used to be so comfortable, it's not comfortable anymore because you've moved beyond that.
And you've seen a glimmer of the possibility of something else. The altered ego only attacks you when you've had a glimmer or a glimpse, and they got to try to shut those blinds as quickly as possible.
You know, I constantly talk to people about social media, you know, and how social media plays such a big role in everybody's life now. And I am always telling people, yeah, it's like we're all back in high school again, you know, and you've got all these people that just need to know about everybody else's life and how miserable they are, and, you know, I'm broke and please send me money and blah, you know, everything's a sad story. Man, great shades of high school, isn't it? You know, haven't we grown up to a point to where you move beyond that?
Not if your altered ego is driving, you don't. And a lot of people are driven by their altered ego. That's why it works.
But this is the point that I'm trying to make. This is what if you can't get beyond, if you're stuck, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you're bound, if you're feeling like you're something's holding you back,
it's your altered ego.
It's that altered ego that is doing all of that to you.
Yeah, and you can change that.
Only you can.
That's such great news, isn't it? It's the best news. Even though we know that people would really sometimes like the news that, well, no, we really would just like somebody else to come in and fix this. Can you just give us the name of the person and the contact information, and I'll contact this other person and let them fix everything for me? And we're like, thank God, or yourself, that it doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah, but
all of you would be on a waiting list.
But that's the human experience. See, we all want somebody. we started out this conversation saying, as a human being, you always want somebody else, or you look for somebody outside of yourself to fix everything for you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Or if you're relying on somebody else to fix it for you, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You won't get the fulfillment and satisfaction from it. We often also talk about that this type of dialogue and this type of subject matter is, of course, very attacked by religions and stuff, because the way that they win is by controlling you with fear.
I said organizations.
Yeah. And that this is what leads. This is what's wrong with what's going on now, and we just laugh about that because we're like, actually, the demise of civilizations throughout time have been the controlling factors in those civilizations.
Yeah, and come on, as a human being, and I'm going to use high school as an example again. Go back and think about your history class. What's the history of everything based upon? Fear and somebody conquering somebody in the name of God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, generally speaking, that's the truth. That's the truth. You can also feel that when you see something shift in your life, okay, when you take the position of saying to yourself, no, I'm not going to buy into it this way. I'm not going to buy into it the way the other person is doing this. I'm going to approach this from a broader perspective. I'm going to put different energy in it, or I'm not going to play into that energy from that person. And you calm yourself down, and you don't get overreactive and knee-jerk reactive to it. It's amazing how some of the resolution will come to you of how it resolves itself and how it plays itself out calmly, okay? And when you see that, you go, wow, wasn't that interesting? Wasn't that interesting? I'm going to do that again, okay? And another situation comes up and you go, this will be interesting. I wonder if I can see this differently and I can play this out differently, okay? And this becomes the game for you, right? We know that everybody is has become very reliant on their lives and their normality in their lives and how their life plays itself out. We know that you have a comfort zone. Even if you say you're miserable in your life, you've somehow gotten comfortable with that, okay?
Comfortable in their misery?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then all you can do is complain.
Right. And who are you without your misery? That's going to be a great subject matter. Perhaps we'll hit that subject matter for the next show. Who are you without your misery and your limitation? And why is it that you've become afraid of discovering that?
And how powerful you are.
Right. Shall we let everybody go for their Sunday and wish them well, right?
If we haven't stirred everybody up enough. Had to stick that big old stick in that mixing bowl and just mix it up just a little bit, right?
Again, we want to say hello to all of our friends worldwide that we've come to know. We do love you very, very much, and we miss you terribly. Thank you for your continued communication, and we wish everybody the most expansive Sunday and every day that you can create for yourselves, right? We look forward to our continued interactions with you. Please like and share this page and this programming with everyone in your life. That helps us continue with this programming, and we'll chat.
If anything, it's a great topic of discussion, isn't it? Whether you agree or disagree.
Right. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for being with us.